There is a verse in our Parasha which condenses the whole of the Torah. I want to go into this verse and I want to show how Rambam understands it and how to follow it according to Rambam's way. So the verse is, Ve'ata Israel, ma Adonai Elohecha shoel imach, ki im le'ira et Adonai Elohecha, ללכת בכל דרכיו ולאהבה אותו ולעבוד את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך. So now, Israel, what does God want from you? To fear God, to walk on his ways, to love him, and to serve him with all your heart and all your soul. So now let's go into Rambam's writings. So first of all, in Ilhot Kriyat Shema, he says, well, why does the Shema comes before the other parts? And he answers that in Shema, we have a commandment about the unity of God, we have a commandment about the love of God, and we have a commandment about the study of God. So how does one love God? One loves God by meditating upon his actions. And one, of course, must know God first, must know that God exists first. That's how he opens the Mishneh Torah. That's how he opens the Sefer Mitzvot. And by the way, there are some translations which render on Sefer Mitzvot that one must believe in God, or that render the 13 principles as one must believe this or that. That's just wrong. So Maimonides, Rambam, is talking about, he writes itikad, which in Arabic means to know, not to believe. So one must know. And if one must know, if one must meditate about God's actions, and one must know about God, know that God exists, so that requires some sort of investigation. And how should we study about God? So is it study just to study Torah? Is it just to study Alachot or Gemara? The answer, according to Rambam, is no. Studying about God is actually the highest level of Torah study. That's Ma'aseh Merkava. So how can one then engages into Ma'aseh Merkava? So Rambam won't write this on the Mishneh Torah, but he writes in the guide. So in guide, book 1, chapter 34, he says, well, there are 5 steps in order to arrive at the possibility of studying Ma'aseh Merkava properly, to study metaphysics properly. So the first step is to know Sinat al-Mantik, which is what is translated as logic, but it encompasses much more than logic. It encompasses the grammar, because, well, one cannot read anything without grammar. It encompasses the hermeneutics, or how to interpret text. It encompasses the different types of speeches, the poetical discourse, the rhetorical discourse, the dialectical discourse, and the logical discourse and its syllogisms. Only then one can go to the second step, which is to know math, and then to know astronomy, and then to know the sciences of nature, not the specifics of each science, but the principles that operate in nature. And only then one will be prepared to delve into metaphysics. And this is the highest level possible. And because the metaphysics will deal with the eternal, immutable principles of reality. And when one is dealing with this, one will also understand what God is not. That's the via negativa, a prophetic way of Maimonides. But in order to get there, you must go through the preparatory stages. So why is this so important for Maimonides? Well, one of the reasons I can bring from the Mishneh Torah in chapter 8 of the Ilhot Shuvah, Rambam will say, well, the Olam Haba of each person depends on how one's soul was capable of grasping these eternal principles. So there you have the the general framework of his path, and on how to fulfill this commandment, this requirement from God in this verse, in this parasha. Thank you very much, and Shabbat Shalom.